If you like talking,
Women.
Ladies,
men,
topic,
Conversations.
and occasional uninformed politics,
multiple talking women is for you.
hit it! Hey there, everybody. It's Paula Gherkin for Multiple Talking Women. We are here today with our co-hosts.
Felicity Bramblebush.
And I'm Lana Brown.
All right. Yeah, I don't know. Say something else.
You know, I'm really excited today because sitting in front of me is none other than Oscar Nunez. Now, is it Nunez or it's not Nunez?
It's Nunez, but I answer to both. It's fine.
Yes.
Do some people say Nunez?
Yeah.
How does someone not know
It's Nunez.
that it's Nunez?
Nunez.
I would, without even the, what's it called, a tilde?
Yeah, exactly.
Without the tilde,
God.
have you not heard of that, Felicity?
No,
She's not very
no.
educated.
Well,
Without the tilde,
Well, I take
even I would
offense
guess
at that.
Yeah.
that it was Nunez.
The Spanish alphabet has two N's and one of them has a tilde over it.
Mm-hmm.
So
Oh,
it's the
yeah, I
A
love
So
that.
now, will you answer to both because you just got so sick and tired of people mispronouncing it, or do you answer to both because both are correct?
Yes, both answers. I got tired and I'm like, who cares in the end?
Wow.
that's true.
I'm like, it's fine.
In the end, well, in case you can't tell by looking at me, I'm very multicultural. So I would also always call you Nunez. But I
Thank-
just
thank
wanted
you.
You
to
would know.
help,
Did you know what a tilde was?
I did.
Mm.
Some people call it an enye.
Yeah, that's right in Spanish.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, thank you for acknowledging that, and for this is the most time I've ever spent talking about this. And,
Yeah. Well, that's what we're known for.
yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
because I see a shape like that and I panic and I think, good God. What is this? What are the expectations put on me now?
that's completely understandable.
Well, as a
Thank you.
Christian, she's evangelical. Don't worry. She's the only one here who is.
Okay.
The original Bible was written with all kinds of
I don't have
letters.
that version. I have hotel room version.
Oh, hotel room Bible, sure.
Okay.
Okay, here's what I want to say. First of all, looking at Oscar Nunez, I'm not going to say your age unless you want to say it, but I did do a quick Google search of you,
Yeah.
and I was shocked because you look younger than all of us in this room.
Thank you.
I mean, what are you using on your skin? And Lana, I can't believe you haven't asked this question yet.
My platform is all about creams and lotions, and your skin is.
I believe in those things.
Yeah.
It
a lot of-
shows. Your skin is smooth.
Oh, thank you. A lot of it also is just dumb luck and genetics, I think. My dad and mom looked pretty young until the very... Then it catches up with you.
Oh, all of a
And
sudden
you're
you wake up
70
one day?
or, yeah, in your 80s and stuff. Then you start to look your age. But all through their 60s, they looked pretty young. But I do use Dr. Hoshka's.
Oh,
Love Dr.
that
Hoff.
would be
Yeah,
a
I've been
great
using that. It's
sponsor
expensive,
for
but
us.
it's worth it. I think I'm worth it. And-
Now, when you were a
are
child,
worth it.
were you one of these children where like maybe you're 10 but you look 4?
yeah,
Yeah.
Unfortunately, yes.
That was a childhood
But
thing.
that's a joke. But seriously, I was like 25, 26, 27 and being carded, and it gets annoying after
But that's
a while.
great for an actor, isn't
I guess
it?
it is. And they had the right to cart me because I looked so young.
I will say
Wow.
your hair is luxuriant.
It is. You've got a lot of hair.
A ton of hair.
If I knew this was what was going to, I would have signed up to do this show so long ago. Thank you, ladies.
no, but we're observant.
really.
You're
Yeah, we're
and
observant.
honest.
Yes.
And you have to be because you're born again.
Oh, absolutely.
Wow.
But these two don't have. They have
No,
No,
I
they
mean
don't
because
have
I'm
that. They're
around
usually
lots
awful.
of men
Yeah.
who are younger than you, and believe me, there's
They've got
sparse,
problems.
sparse spots.
They've got problems.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so here's what I want to know because
There's a resistance.
Yeah.
there's a thing about me I have to tell you, which is I like things in order.
Okay.
So I want to hear about little boy Oscar, born in Cuba. And
Thank
that's
you.
also the correct way to say
Yeah,
it, correct?
you said
Thank
it.
you. Why do people say Cuba? Do you
The
think?
same reason they say Nunez.
Okay, got
it's
it.
just
Now,
easier.
If
It's
a,
just
if
easier.
a white woman says Cuba, doesn't that come off a little, ugh?
Some people say it does. Some people say it comes out a little. Others say why, and there's no and. But I commend you for trying. But
Sure.
let me tell you something. In this day and age, you can't win.
That's
Whether
true.
you
Thank
say
you.
this or that, something's
Yeah.
gonna come at you because people are
Yeah.
waiting Literally,
you.
as we're speaking, there's people waiting, and they're right now texting about the show.
Yeah.
We haven't even started the show. Are we? Have we started?
We've started.
We've started.
We've
We're
started.
recording
We're
already?
recording.
I think
Okay.
what you're saying, and I think this is something you would agree with, Felicity, is poor white people. They're having a tough patch.
It's a bump in the road.
Bump in the road for white people.
I suppose so, though I don't consider it's a bump for me, and I don't consider myself a poor, opposite of poor, whatever the opposite
poor
of poor.
meanings like poor.
Oh, I
Oh,
see
poor me, not poor in money.
Oh God.
Well, the
Yeah.
good news
Jesus.
is there's only 2 white women in this room today.
Well,
what do you mean?
Okay.
You have an ally with me.
Now
are you,
said
are you Cuban?
I'm everything.
she's
Oh, I
Panam-
didn't get that. Okay.
Yeah.
She really likes to lean in and act like she's.
I don't have to
So
act
the-
like it. It's coursing through my veins.
So the three of you represent different
That's right.
factions, as
Sure.
it were. I don't
Now,
Sure.
you mentioned something that has me worried. You said there's people texting in right now. Are you one of these people that believes that there's multiple timelines happening simultaneously?
Oh my God. Maybe. How would I know? I don't know. Does it matter?
I suppose.
I think there may be a place where there's 3 of me interviewing, whatever. Like I know you're like a multiverse is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Do you believe in a?
No, I don't. But
Oh.
we've had guests that have alluded to this, and it terrifies me. And I've never run into this anywhere but Los Angeles. And
Yes,
I
the
worry.
multiverse thing.
The
Well, there wouldn't be
multiverse
so
thing.
many movies about it if it wasn't, probably true.
Is it in the zeitgeist? Am I pronouncing that
Yes,
correctly?
yes, that
It's-
is
that
correct.
means everyone's talking about
Everyone's
it
talking about
simultaneously.
it.
I think what it does is it makes people feel better. If you're like, if I'm not doing as well as I want, there's another me who's really crushing it somewhere else.
Yeah, and somewhere you are Cuban,
Exactly.
full, because we don't know what you are at this point.
I'm a splash.
You're a splash.
Yeah.
If
Lots
there's
of things.
multiverse, imagine how many multiple talking women there are.
Ladies, I did 23 and
Yes.
and
Me.
yes.
Yes.
Everyone did it?
I did it as well.
I were there any surprises? I had no
Yes.
surprises. You were surprised.
You had no surprises?
No, I knew.
I
knew.
want to guess with you. Was there any native indigenous?
No.
Well, no, because he's born in Cuba.
I know, but there's lots of like people go and travel around in
Guess
boats.
again.
that's
No,
true.
guess again.
Okay.
Cuba.
That's really cool. So you're basically pure blood sitting here.
No, there's no pure about Cuba. Who's in Cuba? Break it down. Who?
Ooh, yes.
Italians.
No, God.
Cuban people.
Cuba was discovered by Christopher Columbus.
Yeah.
Ay, ay, ay.
Ay, ay, ay is
Yeah,
right.
I know.
Here comes the
He
pain.
he was trouble.
Oh,
Yeah.
brother.
Yeah.
So, there were 3 tribes in Cuba when he discovered it. They got annihilated. Bye-bye. So now what did they do? It's Spaniards and Africans. So I was like 38% Iberian Peninsula, which is Spain.
Yeah.
And then then the rest Africa.
Mm-hmm.
And then a little bit like
Italian.
no.
Let him
Let me
talk.
finish. Not a little bit English and a little bit Jewish,
Ah.
which I love. That I'm at least
You got a
a
little.
little bit Jewish and a little bit England.
Yeah.
Mostly Iberian and mostly African, and I knew that.
But you really am leaning on the Judaism.
We also
I love the Jew.
Yeah.
Now, but now listen. Now my wife did it. Guess what? She came back
What?
more Neanderthal, because she's like German French.
Wow.
And there's a lot of and they wrote her a letter and they said, "You have a lot of Neanderthal in you. Good for you. We don't see that a lot."
A personal letter.
Because she's French and English and but she
Yeah.
had a lot of Neanderthal.
Have you ever seen those traits come out in her? Sort of like
Oh yes,
digging with
she has a
tools and
temper, and she can fish with a stone hook. You never see that
That she carved.
that she carved herself.
I had a lot of surprises, to be honest.
what was well, you're-
Asian, Genghis Khan, North Africa,
Direct.
and sub-Southern Sahara.
Direct. This one said
You want me to,
descendant of
tell
Genghis
tell
Khan?
you the reason? And this is true. I
Okay.
tell my father, you realize I have Asian and Mongolian. I have Mongolian.
that's
in my,
Genghis Khan.
my father says to me, of course you do. He was out there raping everyone.
They say a lot of us are descendants of Genghis Khan.
Right.
Wow.
And so that really put a spin on it.
Sure.
wow.
And what
Wow.
else you had got going on over there? You said you're a lot. You said you're a
It's
splash.
pretty much everything.
Yeah.
A little bit dots and freckles of everything. But anyway, let's
Anyways,
move
back
on the
to the,
timeline.
but back to the question. So you're growing up.
Oh, yes, sorry.
How long are you in Cuba?
Oh, just
as
a little
child?
bit.
Just a little bit. Born there. When do you?
That's correct.
When do you leave there? You leave with your parents. You come to the United States.
I think 2 or 3, I was little, went to South America, to Caracas, Venezuela.
Caracas.
I did that thing you were talking about.
That's
Yes.
fun.
Caracas.
I enjoy that.
And my parents didn't like it. We were there for a year. They didn't like it. And then we went to Massachusetts,
Heard of it?
and my sister was born there.
Mm.
And now I'm 5. And then the first wave of Cuban immigrants were landing in Florida and New Jersey.
Oh.
And my parents' friends were all in New Jersey, and they're like, "What are you doing up in Massachusetts? Come down here. What are you doing there by yourselves?" And they said, "Okay." So we moved to New Jersey, and that's where I grew up.
Grew up in New
Caracas,
Jersey. Wow.
Venezuela to Massachusetts to me is like,
Wow.
whoa, huge
Very big
culture
difference.
shock.
We were
Now-
only there a year in
Okay.
Venezuela.
When you landed in New Jersey, was there a little bit of a Sharks and Jets vibe?
Very much so.
Dancing in the streets.
My parents saw that on Broadway, and they came home and they were crazy. They're like, "It's so good, Oscar. It's such a good." And they had the album.
Oh,
Wow.
One of my top 5 favorite movies because of when I grew up. I'm older than you guys, as you alluded to.
Yeah. Barely.
So that's one of my top 5 favorite movies and I just bought my daughter, who's 11, I bought her an LP, like a record player. And the first record I bought her was Barbie.
Oh.
And then I said, "Do you want another LP?" She's like, "Daddy, I want another LP." And she said, "West Side Story."
Wow.
Made you so
So I got her
proud.
for
Made you
Christmas.
happy.
She got West Side Story.
Pretty great.
What's
What
your,
a great father.
What's your favorite track?
From what?
West Side Story. What's your favorite track?
Me?
Yes.
Mine is Boy, Boy, Crazy
Crazy
boy. Be cool, boy. Easy does it. Da 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 da. Stay coolly cool, boy. Go, man, go, but not like some crazy schoolboy. Just keep it cool, boy. Real. Ba-da-da, 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 ba-ba. Easy, Ahab. He has. Easy. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
Wow.
What a great scene.
What a great.
What a
we just got
great-
a great in-person show.
What a great choreography. It is so crazy jazzy.
Yeah.
I just drove her to school this morning on Mulholland and we listened to Maria.
Oh,
And I said,
Have you met a girl like Maria?
Maria, I just did the thing with the thing.
Singing Maria.
And I said to her, August,
Wow,
who wrote the music? She said, Bernstein. I said, right. And who wrote the lyrics? She said, Sondheim.
Wow. I'm
my
glad
God.
she didn't say Bradley Cooper.
proud of her.
Yeah.
So, okay.
God.
Little boy in New Jersey.
Oh, sorry. Yes.
No,
And then-
no
no,
apologies.
Don't be
No,
sorry.
this is
We're
what
loving
it's
it.
West Side Story
Wonderful.
deserves a...
It deserves a minute. It
Please.
deserves a minute,
Yeah.
and it deserves, yeah. So, but my question is, you're in New Jersey. When do you know? Hey, I might like acting. I might like being funny. I might like to do something in the arts.
Oh, before Jersey.
Oh,
Even before Jersey. When did that
I
happen?
think it happened in Massachusetts.
Ooh.
I might have this memory confused with Jersey, but we were watching the Carl Burnett show.
Mm-hmm.
I have a photograph of me and Carl Burnett in my house
Oh.
because she's the
okay.
best.
Oh my God, she's a legend.
And I already knew I liked comedy, and we're watching Carol Burnett, and the best thing ever, Harvey Korman, who's one of my idols. My dad and I are watching, and they're doing a sketch. Ken Berry and Carol Burnett, they're doing a play, a sketch of a play where they're doing the Southern Confederate thing. And
Totally.
right? And
I
she's-
know what you're talking about.
And Ken Berry's on stage, whatever, and they're like doing their stupid thing. And then Harvey Korman makes an entrance,
Yes.
and the audience starts clapping,
Yeah.
right? And he starts walking to join them, but he can't because the audience is clapping, and he does that physical thing where his feet make
Yes.
him turn like he has no control,
Yes.
and then he starts bowing. Before he gets to them, he starts bowing to the audience, and and Carl Burnett looks at her watch, and they're waiting and they're tapping, and my father's losing his shit. He's like, Oscar, no. They are waiting for him. But he can't do that. Salaman Beach, he cannot do that. He's not professional, Oscar. Look at him. He can't do that. And I'm like, I'm like, oh, he's not really mad at him. He's like faking he's angry at him.
Right.
Ah.
You know, I'm like, oh, and then I'm
He
like,
was playing along.
yeah, and I'm like, oh, and Harvey Korman's breaking the fourth wall. I'm like 4 or 5, and I'm like, oh, there's a lot of shit going on. But I remember, I'm like, I want to do what they're doing. This is bananas.
Wow, I
It
have
all
the chills. I
Came
really have the
together
chills.
in that moment.
Yeah.
And probably also because you were sharing this moment with Papa.
Yeah, and Papa was funny, and but Harvey Korman would crack him up.
He was funny guy.
So
I do have to say, and I know you like working in the chronological lists, but you talk about Carol Burnett, a amazing show, and I just want to say one of the shows you were on, The Office, is up there.
Yeah.
Yeah, really
Yeah.
up there.
I would say if
So it's not like you just sort of ended up doing something in the field when you were that kid looking at
Yeah.
what was happening.
Then you ended up
were
the
in
top-
happened.
top of the
it
top.
really happened in a
really
big way.
Tip of the top
happened.
tip.
Yeah.
And I was getting to the point where I'm like, I don't know what's gonna. I'm
We
gonna
like
go work
to
at the
dig in-
zoo.
Yes, I want to
Yeah,
hear
that
about
sounds
it.
like a
Those
fun
are
job.
the
I've,
two.
I've worked at a zoo.
Did you?
Yeah.
I love zoos.
Yeah.
I
am,
was in the groundlings,
Mm-hmm.
and my friends started getting work, and I was happy for them. And then I started not to be happy for them, and I started getting weird. And I'm like, oh no, this is not me. I hate this feeling. I'm like, this sucks.
You got some jealousy going on.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I'm like, oh no. And then I started getting work, and I'm like, okay, I could be happy for them again because I didn't like, you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah,
my
you don't
friends
want to feel that
We
way.
know people from the groundlings, and what you're saying to me is kind of drop mic moment.
Yeah, not a lot of people want to admit that.
It's
A lot-
really
a lot-
They
freaking
can't feel it.
hard, I
Yeah.
hear.
Yeah.
They don't. But I'm fascinated that this feeling of jealousy and panic parlayed itself into actual work. Because when I feel jealousy and panic, I'm not at my best.
I say this to all the kids, and there's kids out there listening. People come to this town and they're like, I'm going to give myself 7 years to make it. And they put a time limit.
No, can't do
That's
it.
not what you do. What you do is you come and you say, if I give 100% and nothing is happening for a while, look, I may want to look for something else. But give 100. If you're here 7 years and you're giving 30% a year,
True.
you're not giving yourself
It's
a
not
fair.
great odds.
Yeah.
Every time I would get pissed and I'm like, oh, ugh, I'd ask myself, am I doing 100? And it was always no. The answer was like, I'm not giving 100%. It's 10:30 in the morning. I'm at the beach playing volleyball with my friends. I should be doing something for my career. It's a town where it's very easy to hang out and not
Yeah,
do shit
go
and
out for
think you're
drinks
doing
and-
stuff.
You know what I always say? And this is different. I mean, I'm not an actor like you, but I always say, get in the soup. You got to be in the soup. So whatever, what for me,
Split pea soup or albondigas.
something that has a lot of different things in it. For me, being in the soup, I do a lot
Why
of
soup?
I do a
Her
lot
soup
of
would be
trademark
clam
that.
chowder.
I do a lot of different side jobs.
Well,
And
and
then what
that's-
happens is you're doing all these different jobs. Someone sees you and goes, "Hey, I like what you're doing over there."
'Cause you're in the soup.
Because you're in the soup.
And that's how you first met, right? Over soup?
Yeah, he actually, Oscar came into, I was working at a deli. I owned a deli for a short time, and we made soup there. And you came in and bought some soup, and I got his contact information, and I gave him the soup for free. So so I knew one day he'd owe me, and then he said he would come in and.
Split pea, I believe, was that?
Yep. And then he came and said, "Yeah, I owe you one still for that delicious soup," and here he is.
Thank you for that. I still remember, and I still have a little bit left in the fridge. I love split pea soup.
I love
and they
split
make
pea
the
soup.
best. What was the name of your place?
Soup.
Soup. Yeah, soup.
She's done it all.
She's done it
She
all.
brings
Done
us
it all.
all of our peoples.
All right, so if you don't mind, if I can get back on track like I like, so you're in New Jersey. You know you love Carol Burnett. You know what you're kind of attracted to on the television. When's the first time you go, I'm on stage, or I'm doing, like, what's the first thing, or first thing you really remember going like, people are applauding me and they think I'm good at this.
Well, I was always funny with my friends and stuff, and that felt great. But I didn't get to go on stage till my early 20s. I did not.
You weren't doing it in school.
No,
and stuff like
I
that.
was not doing
Got
it in school. I was too cool.
Would Mom and Papa have supported you if you did?
Yeah, they would have
Oh.
supported
But
me.
he
You
says
were
he was
too
too
cool?
cool, so it sounds
too
like there
cool.
was kind of stuff going on in high school and
There
stuff.
was stuff going on in high school. I was partying too much. My
Ah.
parents broke up like when I was like 17.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Mhm.
And
that'll
They
make
were-
you want to party.
yeah, that would make me want to party. And so I didn't really start concentrating on what I wanted. I was kind of lost.
Mm.
And another thing that happened during the not only did they get divorced, my dad turned out was gay.
Okay.
So that was a big.
Yeah, you know,
That's a big surprise.
So that was. I don't know
When
how
you
much
look
of a
back,
surprise.
yeah.
He used to wear a cape to the opera, and my sister and I used to go. Dad's wearing a cape to the opera, but he was a dandy and he had a cane and him and my
He was Mr. Peanut.
They would go see. He was Mr.
I'd
Peanut.
love to hear an impression of him. Like, I'm going to the opera or to the show.
No, he would not. He wore a cape, not ironically, like it was cool, and they would go to the opera a lot. And they
What would he say?
About his cape. Would he comment on it? Would he comment on his looks?
No, he wouldn't.
Okay.
Because you did
He
a
just-
great,
it
you
was-
did
that's
him
what it
great
was.
a minute ago.
With the-
he was livid once. He had all the LPs of every Broadway, so he'd come home and he had.
So there was a lot of evidence.
Yes, there was a lot of evidence. There was a lot of evidence, but we didn't know any better. He was like Tony Randall. We're like, it's his dad.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
But I remember once he was very upset because like the Tony Awards happened and Pearlie didn't win like the Tonys it should have, and he was angry and he said if the Tonys were what it's supposed to be, only black people would win because he was upset that the talent wasn't winning, like that there were all these black musicals and they weren't getting what they should
Yeah.
have. And
I totally stand
I
behind
agree
him.
with
on
I know
that.
he was right.
He was right.
And but he was. I remember
He
he
was
got
before his time, man. I remember
he got a
before his
little
time.
upset about that.
It was before hashtag Oscars so white.
Yes.
Which must have been confusing for you.
Oscars
What was?
so white.
Oscar so white.
What's Oscar so white?
It was a hashtag.
That the Oscars, the Academy Awards are.
Oh,
just
Oscar's so white.
'Cause you
Yeah.
I thought
could
they were saying I was so white. No, the Oscars
No,
were so white.
They said that for a minute. But look,
It
this
wasn't whatever, and now the pendulum's gone too far over where you don't know what to say. You can't say Caracas because you don't know if they're going to get on you. The pendulum has swung too far the other way,
totally.
and now everything
When
Hopefully
you
it
say
comes back.
pendulums, for some reason, I'm thinking of a penis just going back and forth. But anyway, your father.
I had nothing.
No,
none
no-
of us
None of that's
can
your fault.
support
Oscar.
that.
That's not your fault.
This is not. I have to say, this is unique. But I've been hearing these stories a lot lately.
No, I hear it a lot,
and I
It's a
think it's
thing.
because it's just this happens, and in the time
they
period.
couldn't come out.
No, they
couldn't
could
come
not. They would have
out.
been eviscerated.
And also, they wanted, he probably wanted a family. He's a good
Right.
dad.
Yeah,
wanted kids,
He wanted
right?
He
Yeah.
didn't know. They didn't. He couldn't.
Yeah.
He could. And then when he came out, he still wasn't happy. He never could admit it. People. That's how come now.
Are you Catholic too?
What's that?
Are you Catholic?
Yeah, it was.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Have you seen the movie All of Us Strangers? Because it's literally
No,
about that.
I'm gonna watch. But our friend Todd Glass, right? Great came out
Yeah.
in his 30s. That's took guts, and he did it. He did it.
Yeah.
But
we know
that's-
some others.
But he came from the same kind of.
Yes.
Todd grew up in Chicago,
Yes.
and everyone's and he's like, well, they weren't bad people, but the brunt of a joke was always a gay guy. Was the brunt of,
of
and he's like, well, I guess I'm not gonna come out today.
Yeah. No, in the play field in elementary school, believe me, that
Yeah.
was the put down.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Absolutely.
well, I love the cape. I love the dandy. I love this.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
So okay, so then when you're 20s, when do you get on stage? What
What happens
prompts
is
that?
I went to I did a bunch of stuff, but I ended up in dental technology school.
Sure.
Wow.
'Cause
Paula
my-
has a little bit of experience there.
Can you look at a molar later when we're done?
if you like,
Thanks.
Look at my teeth. Are these real or not?
I think they're real.
Bah! Wrong.
She was in a horrible accident,
Her
but
child pushed her down her stairs.
more on that later. Okay,
More on
so
that.
you were in
Okay.
the dental electronining
I
field.
wanted to say they're real
Or like-
because I knew that's the correct answer, no matter what.
Yeah, it
Oh,
kind of
I'm
is.
not gonna say they look fake.
Yeah.
No,
they
I
look
see.
wonderful.
Yeah.
I saw you brace yourself like you lying through
Didn't
your
want
own
to say
teeth.
the right thing.
Yes.
Or
It's
wrong
like
thing.
never telling a woman, "Oh, congratulations on your pregnancy."
Right. Don't do that.
Right, because she just might be.
She might be chubby.
That's happened.
I have a story about that.
Uh-oh.
But which one? What do you want to hear?
Let's
first?
hear the pregnancy one, and then when you're on stage.
Yeah, let's hear. We gotta
Which
hear
one
this.
first?
Pregnancy and then on stage.
Well, we all know not to ask someone if they're pregnant.
Yeah.
I hope
You
so.
think? You think?
Brian Regan, right? He says, "When's the baby due?" That bit that he does.
Yes.
And the lady's like, "I'm not pregnant." He's like, "I know, at the zoo. The panda, when's the baby due? I'm asking everyone, when's the baby due?" So we laugh about that. We're like, you never ask someone.
You
if
don't
they're
ask.
You just don't.
No.
So we're pregnant and we're in London and my wife's 8.5 months pregnant and we never ask anyone if they're pregnant. We know this. We know this. We know this.
don't.
And we're in the London Eye,
Oh,
that
sure.
thing.
Yes.
It's an enclosed area. You're closed in this area.
Above the sky.
You're above the sky. We're looking at London. We're having a great time. And there's a couple there, and the woman looks pregnant. She looks so pregnant, and they're like an Indian couple, and they're on vacation. And we're on vacation, and the woman looks really pregnant. And
You felt bonded.
my
Your
wife did. I
yeah.
don't know.
Here's
And
another pregnant lady
We're
next
having
to
a
me.
great time,
Yeah.
and my wife walks up to her and says, "When is your baby due?" Oh, and the lady says, "I'm not pregnant." And I
Literally
And there's
stuck.
nowhere to run, nowhere to
There's no-
hide.
I went up to the wall. I'm checking the window.
Oh.
I'm like, "It's secure. This area is secure." And my wife's like, "Oh." And the lady is so sweet.
Oh.
She's so sweet. And she's like, "I'm not pregnant." And she's smiling. And my wife doubles down and goes, "Oh, but you had a baby. You had a baby recently. You
No.
had a baby recently."
No.
And the lady goes, "No, 9 years ago."
Oh.
And we're like, "Oh." So we're just walking
And you're
around.
back to checking the windows. Dear Lord.
And
And,
the-
then
and
do you follow up with then what's going on?
No, I had to pull her away. I said, "Leave the lady alone."
Stop asking questions.
I bet that lady got a good message sent to her that she
Oh.
needed to start working out.
Oh my God. And they were such sweet people. And she kept smiling. Because she could tell my wife's an idiot. She's got a pregnancy brain.
Yeah,
she doesn't
sure.
usually do
Yes.
that.
No.
But she meant while she's smiling and she doesn't know what. I'm like, just walk away from her. Leave the lady alone. And we got off the thing. We started walking away quickly. And she's like, "Oh my God." I said, "You ruined her vacation. You ruined her vacation."
that
and she's
didn't help the
laughing. And I'm like, "You ruined it. You ruined it. You ruined it." And then there's a little ferry next to the eye, a boat that you can take somewhere up the Thames. So we went on that. And there's a lady on that, and the lady's collecting tickets. She's like a captain, and she's got her uniform, and she is pregnant, but we're not going to ask her. And she's like 9 months pregnant. And my wife's like, "Look," I'm like, "Yes, but let's
No,
not."
now we can't. We
we
got to learn a lesson.
We can't.
Yeah.
And we're like,
That's
"No,
it.
leave her alone." But anyway, that was what happened.
Wow. Well,
God.
you know what?
No, we can't. Because we need to get
Oh,
to
no,
the
no, no. I'm keeping an eye, and I
Okay.
don't care because we have to hear more things.
Okay.
All right. So,
Okay, so the second question
We
was,
need to really get to the office.
when did
of
you
it
get
all.
on stage?
I want to get to the office of it all.
But when did you get on
yeah,
stage?
when did you get on stage?
For
So
the
you're in
first
dental
time.
technician school.
Graduated.
You graduated.
Wow,
Yes.
congratulations.
So you're a dentist?
It's only 2 years. No, it's a dental technologist.
Okay.
It's not a dentist.
You have great teeth, by the way.
Thank you.
My mother was a dental assistant.
My mom was a dentist.
Wow.
Oh,
Well,
his
I guess congrats
mother,
to your mom.
She really showed you
But
up.
she made it.
She did.
Great.
Well, she's dead now.
Well, my
Merchandise
mother's
is
alive,
available.
so
Good for you. You won. So I'm working like for half a year in a dental laboratory, and I'm
Wow.
like, I don't want to do this.
no.
I don't. And I'm like 21, 20. I don't want to do this. And I'm like, Oscar, time to really think about what you really. And I'm like, oh, I always wanted to do comedy and stuff.
Wow.
So I picked up a backstage west at
sure.
Port Authority on 42nd Street, and I started taking acting classes, and I got a job in retail in Bloomingdale's, which I love. I love retail, and
Never heard anyone say that.
and then I joined the improv troupe,
Yeah.
Shock of the Funny,
Wow.
in New York in the East Village, and that's how I started. That's when I first got on stage.
I
do
imagine
improv
that. I
comedy.
imagine that moment at the dental technician school where you were working, as a somehow light shine down on you,
Mm-hmm.
and because I think, don't you think a lot of people they end up going, hey, I'm in this thing, whatever. I'm making money. It's fine. Maybe I'm not happy, but it's fine.
Well,
But something's made you change your.
I stayed in the school because I was getting laughs at this technology school.
Oh, interesting.
I understand.
And I had jobs before that, and every job that I ever had, I would take off like a rocket. I would hit the ground running, and they were so pleased with me because everybody was laughing and happy. And I would plateau at about a month.
Oh.
yes.
And I'm not getting any better. I'm just keeping people laughing. And eventually they would catch up and they would feel horrible about having to let me go.
Oh.
My employers are like, you're very entertaining, but you have to leave. And I'm like, I know. And I would go shuffle off to my next job where I would be disruptive and entertaining until they
say that's enough.
we caught up. This isn't, you're not.
We sort of see what you're all about.
So you want to be
Yes.
disruptive and entertaining for the business.
Yeah, make
Yeah.
it your business.
So I'm like, I have to do
yeah, make it a business.
So fast forward.
Fast forward. What brings
Taking
you
off.
New York to L.A.? Let's hear that.
There's nowhere else. Where am I going to go?
Exactly.
I did
Sure.
New York,
That's
and New
right.
York is
You got to be here.
very hard to make a living in New York. You
So yes, and you're in LA and you're at the Groundlings. And now what happens that day? Your representation calls you and says, Oscar, we have an audition for you for a new show. Maybe it's untitled. I hear sometimes they are. It's a workplace comedy. It takes place in an office.
what happened was the best thing that could happen. That it was a good day for me because I had four or five auditions that day, so I really felt like an actor.
Yes.
And it was in the middle of there somewhere, so I could care less. I'm like,
Wow.
this. I know the English version. This one's gonna suck. What do I care? Let me go in.
Yeah, whenever the Americans try to get in there, they
gonna
mess it
suck.
up.
It's gonna
Sure.
suck. So I went in there and they're like, do this, do these lines. I'm like,
Did they
okay.
have you improvise or you would read lines?
Maybe not that time,
Okay.
but then the second interview was all improvise, and coming from the Groundlings, I love that. I used to when I first got here, and I would go to auditions. I would walk in and I'd see funny people there, and I'm like, oh no, and I could feel myself becoming deflated and going, ugh.
That's really honest.
And I'm
That
like,
is-
ugh. And I would sit down and I'm like, oh, and I would hear people go in there and I'm like, I'd go in there now. And then what started happening over time, over a couple of years being in the Groundlings and being in the office, and I was still auditioning, and people would walk in and I'd see them get deflated when they saw me waiting. And I'm like, oh shit.
Tables have
Wow.
turned.
Tables have turned.
Did you give them like a look like, ha ha, you little loser?
No, I
or
don't
did
think
you give them a
people do
knowing
that.
look like, you got this?
I've been
No,
there
I'd be
before.
very supportive because I
Yeah.
knew what they were going through.
Yeah.
I'm like, I've been there, and I'm like, you're right, you're not going to get it, but it's okay because one day you're going to be,
Yeah.
because you can't get it when you want the job, they're not going to give it to you. They won't
that's
give you
right.
the job
Yeah.
if you want it.
You go in there too
If you go-
anxious, too.
If you go in there, you don't give a
Needy.
shit. They're
Now,
like,
the
oh, we
first
must have
time-
him.
You went
Yeah.
into audition for the Office show. You didn't give it. You didn't care. But then you probably had to go back, and you probably
You had
cared
to
a
call
little
back.
more.
Yeah, when you had to call back, maybe.
Yeah, but it was improv, so I'm like, this is fine.
Oh, this was easy.
It's
to
so
do.
easy.
fine.
And then did you have to go but third and fourth and fifth?
Yeah, it's like 3 or 4 times, and my agent's like, they're interested. I said, no, I know, it's cool.
Feel
But I have the Allison Jones gave me the sign-in sheet from that day, the original sign-in sheet,
Wow.
and it's me, Leslie David Baker, and Kay Flannery
Wow.
on the same sheet.
Wow.
And I made copies to give them. I'm like, you guys.
Oh.
Wow.
So yeah, that's cool.
Allison Jones is a casting director.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
She's a
when
casting
now when
director.
you get the call, hooray! You're on the show.
But that's is it a pilot? Just a pilot at that point?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is a pilot.
Which also probably helps not get too needy about, because like you said, it's
No,
going to
no,
be
no.
terrible. This is the American version. It's going to have a pilot. It's going to be gone.
I'm not going to quit my day job.
That's right.
We were all cast, and Steve Carell was not cast. So that's even more reason. I'm like, and then they were saying we're looking at Damon Jones,
Sure.
Groundlings.
Oh,
Groundlings.
Heard of him.
buddy
yeah.
of mine, Bob Odenkirk,
Heard of it.
Mhm, sure.
Andy Richter, and someone else, and the 4 of them are great actors. I know Damon, I know Bob. The 4 of them are great, and I still thought, I don't know.
You didn't know if it was the exact right person.
I'm like,
Yeah.
And then they said, oh, Steve Carell was in a project, and that's what they wanted, and it fell through, so he's going to be the guy. And that's the first time I thought,
It's going to
Okay.
be a good show.
'cause Steve's a little different.
Yeah.
Steve's
yeah.
a little different.
Yeah.
I'm like, this
got his
fucking
own
Steve's
thing.
an assassin. I'm like, it's, and then Greg Daniels, word came down that Greg Daniels insisted on long, awkward shots and no laugh track. And I'm like, oh, this is, we'll see what happens. So I kept feeling better and better about it. And then we shot the pilot, and I made fast friends with Kay Flannery and Brian. Angela I knew from before from the Groundlings.
Mhm.
And then they ordered like something weird, like 4 or something. And Kate Flannery was working at Cape Madeleine as a waitress. And I was catering and babysitting, and we would check in with each other. I'm like, "Are you quitting your job?" She's like, "No, I don't know." I'm like, "Me neither."
Yeah, hang in there.
And then they ordered like 6 more, and then I'm like, "Are we quitting?" She's like, "I'm fucking quitting. You quit?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm quitting." And we both quit.
What a feeling.
And her stupid ass boss told her, "You'll be back." I'm like, "Fuck,
How cruel.
Wow.
what an asshole."
And at that point, do you say, "Oh, maybe this show isn't so bad.
Yeah, at that
You could
point,
tell
we're-
it's-
yeah.
You could tell.
Something special is
know.
happening."
When we shot the second episode, because the first episode was the original pilot from the office, from the English office, but the second episode was the one where we're like Michael Scott wants to make us more united. So we have a game where we're different. We have cards on our heads,
Sure.
and we're like
And you
different.
try to guess what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I read the script and I'm like, oh, this is funny. And I'm like, who wrote this? And they're like, BJ Novak. And I'm like, that teenager?
Yeah.
That kid wrote this? I'm like, oh, this is,
Who later was on the show.
we're going to, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, this is good. This is a
I'll
good
tell you,
script.
I don't care for comedy that much.
No, yeah.
And I don't really watch much comedy. I like murder.
And westerns. She's obsessed with like
Westerns,
old
murders,
westerns.
You know, that kind of thing. The Office, I like that.
Thank you.
That
I
feels
don't.
like- that felt
I
like
mostly
real life
don't
to me.
understand jokes. I like someone to tell me when something is going to be funny, so I know when to laugh. But because so watching your show made me nervous because there's no laughter. How do I know when to laugh? But I found that laughs happen to me naturally, which has only happened watching your show and nothing else since.
Can I tell you something that'll make you feel better? True story. My friend, Regan Burns, said to me many years ago, he was in the, very funny, he was in the grounds with me, and he goes, Oscar, the best show on TV is The Office. This is the English one.
Oh.
He goes, watch The Office. And I'm like, all right, I'll watch The Office. And I caught it in the middle, like an episode of, I caught it in the middle, and I'm like, why does he want me to watch this documentary? And then I saw him a couple of days, and I'm like, no, I didn't. What do you mean? I didn't. I started watching, I turned it off. He goes, no, you idiot. Watch it from the beginning. Watch it full. And I'm like, all right. And I did. And I'm like, oh, fuck. Okay. Because I caught it in the middle. I'm like, what is this?
I mean, it's
Right.
right. Wouldn't it be the first time someone did a show like that,
He
like that documentary style?
He may be problematic. I love him because I have a house because of Ricky Gervais and Steve Merchant.
Yeah.
Sure.
By the way, what murders do you recommend now? What are you watching that's
What murder shows do I
murder
like?
shows do you like?
There's a show on. Have you heard of Amazon Prime?
Yeah.
There's a show called Unforgotten, British. Cold cases. It's about solving a cold case. Ooh, it's good.
Unforgotten. With Jason Isaacs?
I don't know names of people.
Is it the guy from Harry Potter, the Malfoy's father? Is it in Edinburgh?
Maybe he shows up in that. He's not a lead or anything. If he does show up in it,
Is it a procedural? Is it a cop? Is there a
if there's a cop, it's a procedural. You can't pop in the middle and think you're gonna know what's going on. Unforgotten,
I'm gonna look for that.
Which
Tell me that.
means remembered.
remembered.
Oh,
I have
Sure.
a quick question about this. So fascinated. Did any of the childrens who you were previously more babysitting before this say, like, you'll be back?
when the children?
You were babysitting before
Yes.
before things went really well,
Yeah.
and you didn't know if you were going to quit your job or not.
Yeah.
And when your friend left her job,
Yeah.
the boss said, you'll be back. Did any of the kids you were
Any of your
babysitting
children.
say to you, you'll be back?
How did you find this out?
Because you seem kind and if they get bonded to you.
But what kind of research did you do that you dug this up? I feel uncomfortable.
Oh, like this did happen.
Yes, and how does she know?
She's a journalism miss.
And
she was a
do
journalism
and do the
major.
voice of the baby.
You'll be back.
He's Peruvian, and how did you do the Peruvian accent? How did you know this?
Because she was a journalism major in the
At the Panama Canal.
I feel I've been set up. I feel I walked into a trap. Yes, they said that. The child said that, and it was cruel.
But now they can watch you on a loop,
Now, yes.
and they're comforted.
And the children are obsessed with these shows, The Office,
They
The
call them
Friends,
olden days shows.
olden
but,
days.
Is that what they're calling it?
Sure.
But this is a
know
show
how I feel
that
about
is
that.
going to live on as one of the greatest shows
Syndication stations.
ever made. And how does that? Do you wake up every morning and think, thank God I asked Kristen Wiig this same thing? Thank God I'm
all I wanted to do was, and not even have a house. All I wanted to do was pay the rent on my apartment and pay my bills with just acting. This is
And not worry about
in
it.
New York.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, if I can just not even have a house, I could just pay my bills, and that's all I wanted to do. So, and I wanted to be on a variety show like the Carl Burnett show.
Sure.
So it's pretty close.
That's
Right.
what I
And
say.
that might still happen.
It took a long time, but it kind of happened. It's
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
crazy.
This is the worst time of the half hour. We got to.
I thought she was going to say this is the worst time of the month and talk about how she's gushing or something.
No, I wasn't going to talk about that.
Ugh.
But I'm open to it because it's
Sure.
it's 2024 and this is what's
I'm
happening.
ovulating.
And he's so
I'm
sensitive.
fine.
And
He's
it's
so
fine.
sensitive.
And men have to be okay with
That's
this.
right. She's popping eggs. Anyway,
Popping
continue.
eggs right now, and if that makes me feel great.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so what we like to do is ask, before we wrap up, if you had to give advice to, little Oscar Nunez. You're looking at your young self maybe, and you're trying to, say build them up. You're going to be able to do this. What kind of advice you're going to give?
Oh, I don't know. I think what kids need to learn in general, and it's hard because it's the same thing over and over again. It's so frustrating.
Yeah.
To see the kids growing up, and you're like, "Can you listen to me?" And they're like, "No, we have our own minds." No, you don't. We've all been through this. Just listen, and we don't, and we didn't listen to them.
No.
Such is
You
life.
got to learn it yourself.
Bullshit.
Yeah.
So frustrating. But ask for help. It's okay to ask for help.
That's great.
If
good
not
one.
from
We've
a
never heard
teacher
that.
or a friend, ask for help. It doesn't mean you're a loser. It doesn't mean anything. Just ask for help.
Wow.
And there's many, many, many people who want to help you. So if you run into someone who is a racist or misogynist, and you're running into that, don't try to transform or change that person. Walk around them. Find someone else. They're not worth it.
That's another big piece of advice.
There's 10 people waiting to help you.
yeah, there's better people.
People
Don't try
waiting
to
in the
turn
wings.
people to a different person than they are.
And that's a real positive outlook that
Yeah.
there's people out there.
Yeah.
That would
Don't waste your time. Find people who want to help you. They're out there. They're out there.
I found a last night.
Kind of like the spaghetti sauce when they say it's in there.
It's in the soup.
It's in there.
in
But
the
it's
soup.
out
Full
there
circle.
and it's in
It
there.
all
It's
comes
in
back
there and
around
it's
to
out
sauce.
They're
there.
there. Yeah.
Sauces and soups.
Find your right sauce and be in the soup.
Yep.
Oh, I love
Thank
it.
you.
Soup.
Okay, so what I did this morning, just to wrap another thing before we wrap up, I was, on the webs figuring out what other kind of improv games are there. And there's a game. It's not a game. I guess it's practice. A yes and thing.
Okay.
Where you say a statement, and then the next person says yes and they agree to it, and then they add to the statement.
I hear this is like the building block.
This is the building block. So I'm going to start.
It's ringing a bell.
Yeah, I'm going to start. And I'll pass it to you, Felicity, and we'll go around in a circle.
All right.
All right.
Oh, dear
You just
God.
have to agree. You can't say no. You have to agree to whatever I said, and you have to add to it.
This is
That's
an
the
improv game.
That's the rules that I read.
This is an improv
Yeah.
game.
And
Okay.
you're supposed to just start with a simple statement.
Okay.
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 Today I went to Trader Joe's.
Yes, and I saw there was a sale on yogurt. Was that correct?
Yes. And then I decided I didn't want to be there anymore. So I went home and took a nap.
No, you didn't. You went. Oh shit. Oh shit.
It was a double. You
Ah.
both doubled.
I won, I think.
walked right into you did the right thing. It was a little clunky that you said yes and,
Okay. All right, I'll take that. That's a constructive note.
but then I was even worse.
Well, you know what? These are things we can build on.
I think it goes to show how hard improv is.
It's very hard.
It's not easy, and I've forgotten a lot.
Yeah.
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 You know what? You
on that
really
note-
are something special, though.
Really something special. This has been
Yes,
this has been
and-
oh,
Keep yes-anding that for the rest of your
for
life.
the rest of your
Yeah.
life.
That's-
All
Your
right.
daughter's lucky. I wish I had had you as a dad.
Oh,
It's a story
boy.
for another day.
Let's give it up for Oscar Nunez.
Thank you,
everybody.
Oscar Nunez.
thank you. Oh, there's an audience here. I didn't notice.
Multiple Talking Women is hosted by Lauren Burns, Ariane Price, and Lisa Shurga, and produced by Carafano and Amelia Misco at Stampede Ventures for the Stampede Podcast Network. Okay, I'm done now.